This conference will now be recorded. This conference will now be recorded. It's now 7 o'clock, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everyone this evening. For roll call, everyone is present. And before we get started this evening, I'm going to explain to council, as I did last week, one of our councilors is joining us by phone this evening. And since I'm not able to see him, I'm going to have to ask to do a reverse on the way we vote. So what I'll be asking is if anyone is opposed. And if you are opposed to something, please speak up and give us your name so we know who is opposed, and we'll do it that way. And if you have any questions during the meeting about it or anything, just ask. Thank you. We'll now take a moment of reflection and respect, please. Thank you. The first item up is the confirmation of the agenda.
That council adopts the agenda for the meeting of September 21st, 2020 as presented.
I need someone to move and someone to second. Deputy Mayor Andrews and Councillor Barber. Are there any questions or comments? Is anyone opposed? That's carried. Thank you. The next item up is declaration of pecuniary interests. Seeing none. There are no delegations or public meetings this evening. So we'll move into the adoption of council and committee minutes.
That council approves the following minutes. Regular council virtual session held on September 14th, 2020.
Okay, someone to move and someone to second. Councillor Chapman and Councillor Oslach. Are there any questions or comments? Is anyone opposed? It's carried. Thank you. And the next item up is minutes to receive.
That council receives the following minutes. Elmer Police Services Board held on June 9th, June 18th, and July 7th, and August 4th, 2020.
Okay, someone to move and someone to second. Deputy Mayor Andrews and Councillor Ham. Are there any questions or comments? Councillor Chapman.
Only one slight one. It's July 14th. Not the 7th. It's July 14th and August 4th.
Yes, okay. Thank you. Are there any further questions or comments? Is anyone opposed? And that's carried. The next item up is the consent agenda, items A and B.
That items A and B of the September 21st, 2020 consent agenda be adopted as presented with actions to be taken as noted.
Okay, someone to move and someone to second.
Councillor Charlton will move.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Charlton and Councillor Chapman. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, anyone opposed? And that's carried. Okay, we'll move right into action items. The first item up is report OP&S 1120.
That report Operations 1120 entitled Antonieson Request for Contract Relief Bulk Collection be received for information, and that council grant Antonieson Trucking contract relief from their obligation to undertake the 2020 bulk waste collection, and further, that the town accepts the quote provided by Norfolk Disposal to complete the work in 2020.
Okay, someone to move and someone to second this report. Deputy Mayor Andrews and Councillor Chapman. Could I turn this over to you, Rob? Maybe if you have any extra things to add to your report, please.
Certainly, Your Worship. Tonight's report is as a result of a letter that was received by the mayor, where the contractor is seeking relief from the bulk collection to continue to isolate his staff during the pandemic. He feels it's prudent to do so. So council has two realistic options moving forward because of the late timing of this. You could choose to cancel the event, or we could look to get another contractor. And to make sure that was a viable option, staff reached out to the subcontractor that our contractor uses, because I wanted to make sure that there was some experience there and they knew how to handle the event and to manage the event. And I'm sort of confident in the pricing that they gave back to us, that it's at market value. It's certainly very comparable to what we've seen when you tack on sort of a CPI from last year. I end up very close to this price. So I know there are folks already out there getting ready. Staff did look at it through the lens of, should this event be canceled, based on all the advice we're given from all the health units. And I think we can realistically proceed with this event if council chooses to do so.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments about this report?
Yes, Your Worship.
Sorry, Councillor Ocelot, go ahead.
We've used Norfolk Disposal in the past, haven't we? I can remember years ago we used Norfolk Disposable, and they're a very good company, which I understand because we've used them in the past. It's just a comment.
Mm-hmm. And I believe that Rob mentioned that Mr. Antonisen uses them anyways for this event. I think they subcontract. So yes, they're very familiar with this job. So I don't think there should be any problem with this this report at all. It seems like the right thing to do. So are there any, sorry, Councillor Barber. You're on mute, Councillor Barber.
My apologies, I couldn't find my cursor. Anyway, I'm glad that there's an alternative other than the outright cancellation of this. Many people in town take full advantage of the service, and it does a lot to keep the town looking as good as it does. So I'm glad that staff was able to work something out.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Barber. Any further questions or comments about this? Okay, seeing none, is anyone opposed? And that's carried. Thank you. And thank you, Rob, for that report. The next item up is OPNS 1220.
That report, Operations 1220, entitled Contract Renewal Curbside Waste and Recycling Collection, be received for information, and that staff begin the process to develop a request for proposal for garbage collection contract.
Okay, someone to move and someone to second. Councillor Barber and Councillor Chapman. Okay, Rob, would you like to give us an overview of this report as well, please?
Certainly, Your Worship. Council will recall some time ago we had a discussion early on in January about the status of sort of the collection in Ontario with the changes to the recycling. And I think at that time we discussed with Council that it was probably in our best interest if we could secure a contract renewal with our current service provider. Certainly, he has provided the town with great service throughout the years. No complaints there. And we find the contractor, easy to manage, if you will. So to that end, staff reach out to the contractor to see if Mr. Antonisen Trucking, was willing to enter into a contract extension, and those are attachments to the report. He has now provided a response looking for a significant increase in the pay schedule. And unfortunately, there are sometimes you can renew contracts with slight tweaks. Something as substantial as that really is a whole new contract. And when viewed through the lens of a procurement, it's not something that we could do. We would have to go out for an RFP. So I just also wanted to bring to the council's attention, it was certainly my wish that we could continue service with this contractor. An RFP, for this type of service, if you think in your mind sort of the worst contractor that you've had experience with, it could be a recent contractor or somebody in the past, and then think of yourself in a 7-year long-term contractual relationship with that person. So when we go out for an RFP of this nature, we really want to be careful and do our due diligence that we get the right contractor moving forward. So having gotten the response from Mr. Antonisen, I would recommend that we probably start the RFP process sooner rather than later. These typical contracts go about 7 or 8 years, and that is the time it takes them to sort of amortize that garbage truck. There's a number of upfront costs to get into the business, or not get into the business, but start a new area. They'd have to have new trucks. So the lag time for contractors to secure trucks and get up and running, even after you've signed a purchase order, is a few months. So we're recommending to council that we start this process sooner rather than later based on the answer we've got from our current service provider.
Okay, thank you, Rob. Are there any questions or comments? Okay. Well, that was another excellent report and a lot of information. So seeing that there's no questions, obviously you did an excellent job because everyone seems to be satisfied. So that's good. And I think we're taking the right move on this. I do regret that we can't work with Mr. Antonisen. I have to say he has given excellent service to Aylmer, and he is a nice person to deal with and wonderful company. So we're going to miss them, really. I have to admit it. But I know he has a business to run, so I think we're going the right path. So anyway, with no further questions, comments, is anyone opposed? And it's carried. Thank you. The next item up is report CORP 3620.
That report, Corp 3620, entitled Site Plan Control Process, Suggested Updates, be received for information, and that council directs staff to prepare an amended version of bylaw 6518 for council consideration, including updates to the site plan approval process as outlined in this report.
Okay, someone to move and someone to second. Deputy Mayor Andrews and Councillor Barber. And Kale, would you like to give us an overview of this report, please?
Sure thing, Your Worship, and through you to the rest of council. This report is just a revisiting of the bylaw which was passed in 2018 regarding the updated site plan approval process. Staff have taken the time over the last couple of years to sort of review how it's been going and try and look at ways to improve our service wherever possible. I've outlined a couple of things here which I think are relevant updates to assist both the developers and the town in administering this policy and bylaw. And I think, as mentioned here, I think these are probably a better end result, even though they may increase the upfront costs of the applicants. I believe this leads to a better service level, and it leads to a better outcome and feeling at the end of the development process as well. If you'd like to elaborate any further on the individual items, I can do that, but mainly I just want to draw these to your attention and seeking a request from council to direct me to bring back the administrative changes to the bylaw that could bring it into effect January 2021.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none. Is anyone opposed? And that's carried. The next item up is CORP 3720.
That report, Corp 3720, entitled Technology Upgrades, Town Hall and Old Town Hall, be received for information, and that council directs staff to verify the cost estimate of the upgrade to dedicated fiber internet connection to Town Hall and the Old Town Hall to increase connectivity and support ongoing live stream of virtual or hybrid council meetings as needed.
Okay, someone to move and someone to second. Councillor Oslach and Councillor Ham. Did you want to give a bit of information about this as well, Kale?
I can, Your Worship. So through you to the balance of council, the pandemic has been a very difficult and fast-moving situation. Staff responded as quickly as possible by getting in preparations in place to live stream our council meetings and use the GoToMeeting software that we have here. We've also brought ahead procurement of higher powered laptops for the individual councillors to help in facilitating these online meetings. Some of that was never envisaged to be a long-term change, and we were running what is a pretty difficult concept to live stream a meeting with multiple screens. It takes a tremendous amount of bandwidth, which isn't currently supported even within our own town hall. So we have done our very best, and our last meeting was unable to be live streamed. It's still able to be recorded and posted at a later time. But if council wishes to make this a long run option for you to host hybrid or live streamed meetings, this is the time where staff would have to investigate increasing the internet connections at either Town Hall as the location of the hybrid meeting or potentially Old Town Hall as the alternate location.
Okay, thank you, Cale. Are there any questions or comments? Deputy Mayor Andrews?
So my only comment is just that I'd like to see this technology extended for the police service board meetings so that we are able to also present live, and that way we're on the same process as our regular council meetings. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Oslach.
Yes, Your Worship. I'm in agreement with this upgrade because I'm into video anyway in the little studio that we have in Town Hall, and if we can improve the service to the public and to the Town Hall, even to the Old Town Hall, I'm in complete agreement with it. Also, about 5 years ago, Eastlink did put a fiber optic cable into our little studio. So because we were having trouble live streaming our council meetings twice a month, or sometimes three times a month on TV, and they did put a fiber optic cable. I can remember. I don't remember exactly what date it was, but I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago. And because in front of the post office, they cut the cable, and we didn't have any service for a while. But they did put a fiber optic cable into the studio at that time. So, but I think it's a good idea to upgrade everything.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Oslach. Councillor Barber.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think at this particular time, it's prudent on the town to be trying to enhance the technology and the capabilities to post videos or whatever. We're coming up into a time of the council agenda where we have to start discussing the budget. And personally, I find it much easier to and effective to discuss items like that on a face-to-face basis. And if the venue happens to be the Old Town Hall as a alternative, we need the technology to get out to the people so that they can share in whatever we're looking at. So right now, to research it and find out the cost is a prudent thing to do.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Barber. Are there any? Oh, sorry,
Yeah,
Councillor Charlton, do you have a comment?
Yeah, yes, I would agree with Councillor Barber. I think we need to update it, and it would make the Old Town Hall a little more marketable if it had fiber optic Wi-Fi in it. I hope the town website will be upgraded as well to handle videos of this sort too. So thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Charlton.
Through you, Your Worship.
Kale, did you have a comment?
Yes, through Your Worship. I just wanted to also raise this type of service delivery in terms of really relying on technology. We do need to be conscious that even with the largest of investments, there may be potential pitfalls to this, given you can only build so much redundancy in the system. So, for example, if we had an Eastlink outage as far as internet connection, our live stream would still be unavailable. And largely our ability to meet this way is going to be unavailable. I just wanted to make sure that council's aware that this technology is probably at the outer edge of our capabilities in-house, and we do need to be conscious of how much we can provide. We'll do our very best to continue to provide the service we've been, I think, doing very well on, even relative to our peers on a fraction of the budget. And I just want to say that some of these things will still be outside of our control.
Thank you, Kale. I just want to make a comment as well, just so council's aware, and they are aware, but basically our staff have done all this IT, and that's not their jobs. Like technically they're not IT specialists. So as Kale has mentioned, we're doing quite well because a lot of councils and municipalities and towns, whatever, they all have IT specialists that work for them. And we don't have that. So our IT specialists are Kale and Josh and other staff members. So at this time, I want to thank our staff for all the hard work because they're doing all this and their regular jobs. So we couldn't have this. We wouldn't have this type of capability without all the hard work that they've put into it. So I do want to thank staff for that. Are there any further questions, comments about this report?
Through your worship, Councillor Charlton here.
Go ahead.
Yeah, even if we did have updated Wi-Fi in the Old Town Hall, and we did have an interruption with Eastlink, we could still have our social distance meeting and carry that out. And people would just have to realize if we had an electronic glitch, that's just the way it is. But we could still have our meeting. It just would not maybe be filmed that night. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anything further? Okay, go ahead.
Through your worship, it is probably worth noting that we do already have a redundancy if we're unable to live stream. We do record the meetings on our GoToMeeting meeting software. So we are already building in some redundancies, and we just probably should have made it a bit more clear that if we do have to rely on the recorded version, it takes some time for GoToMeeting to process the recording and send us that it is in the correct format to upload to the website. So while our live stream is the ideal situation, we certainly take care of having a recorded version, and it will be available as soon as possible once the formatting is done.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments, questions? Okay, is anyone opposed? And that's carried. Thank you. The next item up is new business and matters of urgency. Okay, seeing none. There are no bylaws this evening. Inquiries by members. The next item up is statement and committee reports. Councillor Oslach. You're on mute, Councillor Oslach.
I apologize. Just a comment. I had an email from Eastlink Amanda. I guess she replaced Betty as Betty retired. And I think staff got also the same email that they're willing to broadcast past Santa Claus parades and Remembrance Day services throughout the probably November, December. I don't know the dates, but if we want to for them to do it, they're willing to do it.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Oslach. Are there any further statements or committee reports? Okay, I don't have a report this evening. Notice of motion. And so the next item up is meeting close to the public.
The council moves into a meeting closed to the public at 7:24 p.m. for the purpose of considering litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality, and a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality.
Okay, someone to move and someone to second. Councillor Chapman and Councillor Ham, are there any questions or comments? And is anyone opposed? That's carried. So we'll just take a couple minutes and we'll go into the closed meeting.
This conference is no longer being recorded.